I'm James Stokoe and I am a salmon fishing guide on the mighty Tyne and a salmon fishing fanatic for the last 25 years, and I have the greatest job on this planet introducing new people and seasoned pros to this river and these fish. So coming to a new piece of water is always quite daunting to people, and the key is just to take a little bit of time. Come down to the river. Even better if you can get some local knowledge is always key, but if you're by yourself, come down to the river, scope it out, stand and just give it a little bit of time, look at the river. Subject to what time of year it is or what the height of water is, I always look at the water and think, if I was swimming in that water, where would I swim? Now these fish migrate a phenomenal distance, so they need to conserve energy. They will always take the easiest route possible, and they will lie in specific areas that aren't always in the current. So I will stand and look at a bit of water. I love fishing creases of water. So what that is the water that's going from fast to slightly slow, just on the edges. That's what I was. That's if I was to go down to a bit of water, that would be my go-to spot. Also structure. If there's any structure, look at the surface of the water. You might not be able to see anything on the surface, but there'll be little hints and tips. There'll be a little bit of a boil. If there's a boil, there's a big rock there. Salmon love rocks. They can get in behind them, they can get in front of them, they can get beside them. So there's always little clues there. Structure, currents. If the water's really low, I'll fish the white water and fast water because there's a lot of oxygen in there and its tendencies are it's a summer. If it's a big water, half the time you don't even need to cast further than the rod's length out. Those fish will be tight against the bank. So it's subject to the height of the water and the conditions. The critical thing is not going in head first and wading straight away, because you might be wading onto the fish. It's quite difficult without any help there, without a ghillie or guide. I mean, that's what people use people like myself for, is because we know the water, we know the wading lines. Start with a short line, edge out. Just don't rush to get out in that water. Short line, and when you can get the maximum length of line, just start working downstream. That's the key to it. Then we come to things like temperatures. I only take the temperature because I want to know what sort of level I want to be fishing at. If it's really low, we're talking like 5, 6, 7 degrees, I will fish really deep and I will fish really slow. And it might dictate where I fish in the pool. So not quite the fast water, I'll be fishing the edges of water because the fish don't want to be sat in the main currents. When the water warms up, I'll be fishing really fast current there. In the back end, to be honest, the back end temperatures fluctuate. They don't really get so cold that I'll fish super fast tips. I'll try and stay a little bit higher in the water. And remember what we were talking about earlier, the fish will always come up for a fly. They won't go down. You're far better off being above them than below them. So colour has a massive part to play in fishing and especially catching fish. The River Tyne is renowned for having a peaty stain. So we get phenomenal sea trout during the day, which a lot of rivers don't. You've got to wait till night time. So the river can come in quite dirty. So you want to have a good selection of flies, sizes and colours. If the river's really dirty and big, I will fish as big as I can and bright. Again, you don't need to be putting out a massive line. Those fish will find the easiest route possible. They'll be creeping up the sides. Imagine swimming. You're not going to swim in the hardest current possible. You're going to take the easiest route. That's exactly what these fish are doing. As that water comes down, as the colour drops out, just go down in size. Same with the lines. If the water's big and dirty, I'll also fish a slightly deeper fly because the current's faster. As that drops, I'll come a little bit higher in the water. There's a magical temperature, which I don't want to give. No, there's a magical temperature for me on this river. I love anything when it gets to about, for salmon, sort of like 11 to 13 degrees, maybe a little bit more. It's sort of a magical temperature that at certain times you can sort of guarantee yourself a hookup. Not going to say you're going to land it. And for sea trout, for me, anything from sort of like 14.5 to 16.5 is really good. I think different rivers change, but I've got a set pattern that I know when the river's a certain temperature at a certain height, I will use this, and it's good to keep a record. And that's what really comes in handy and makes it, I'm not saying I'm a good angler, but a really good angler, because you have a tactic that you know works in those heights, they will work again. Just have the confidence to fish them. One other thing that people don't think about, and it's pretty obvious because during the day it's out all the time, is the sun. Now, different rivers flow in different angles and from different sides of the country, so I'll often fish pools where the sun isn't directly above and to the side of the fish that I'm swinging the fly away from, because these fish don't feed. So we're relying on natural aggression and instinct. And if you put a fly directly into the sun above a fish, it's not going to take it. So certain times, try and plan your day sometimes around certain areas. Because the rivers change so much and they bend so much, you can find areas of the river where the sunlight isn't directly in their face, especially if you're looking at east or west coast rivers, because the sun continuously rotates. So take that into consideration, that the fish aren't looking to feed, and the last thing you want to do, like I'm doing now, squinting, is look into the sun. Try and pick your times you're going to fish the pools. That's why mornings sometimes are perfect, evenings. If it's a cloudy day, fish all day, brilliant, but try and select times as well. During the summer, if it's red hot, the water temperature might be up and the sun's up, select your times you're fishing, morning and evening. You might not be able to do that, but just try and make the most of it and get up early and get on that water. So this is a pool that you can literally fish all year round, no matter what height, because of the characteristics. You've got a main body of flow which is going down the far side there, and you can see this huge inside edge here, just nice and glassy and slack. This time of year with the water just being up a little bit now from springtime, you can catch them in the fast water, but my money would be on the edge, and just as it's easing up a little bit, just where those white posts are, just down the middle to the tail end of it there. But you'll get fish that'll be sitting in that water all year round. They've come up some slack water, they'll feel the presence and pressure of the water, they'll just ease up a bit, and that's one of the great places to intercept these fish, and that is exactly what I'm going to go and do now.